Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle. Today we have with us Dr. Michael Berlin, who is the owner of the Family Wellness Center. Welcome to the program, Dr. Michael.
Hi, Mike. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your show. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. I just love learning more about specific industries and what led people to that industry. And then, in your case, starting the Family Wellness Center, obviously the focus is on family and a holistic wellness approach. So I want to get into, what your practice focus is on, but give us a little bit of background on yourself and what led you to chiropractic.
Well, I always, ever since I was little, I always marveled at the miracle of life. I just did. I loved nature. I used to sit on the top of trees for hours and sit, in anthills and just watch the ants, working together. And I always just marveled at the miracle of life. And so as I grew, I just did things naturally. I ate naturally. I never took any medicines. And eventually I knew that I wanted to help people. So, so as I was going, as I grew up and I started moving into my career, I kind of matched the two. And so I'm promoting natural health and the miracle of nature and, and life itself and helping people to experience that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting, I think a lot of people might not have picked up on that about their own childhood. I find myself noticing these attributes about myself. So that's really intuitive and great. And it reminds me of kind of like those shows on TV, how this works. And so, people's minds just start going into how does that engine work or how does that machine work? Or in your case, how does the body work? And getting into chiropractic really pulls in, those deep foundational aspects of how the body works, because a lot of people might think that their pain in their whatever knee or whatnot is a cause of something, but in reality there could be a lot more going on. So what are you finding in the industry even right now with your patients that is a good trend or a big need that is that you're addressing?
Well, the biggest need, Mike, is stress is the number one killer in our society. According to the Center of Disease Control, they say that 93% of all doctor's visits are stress-related. 93. I heard another statistic that said 96%, but we'll go with the lower one.
Yeah, which is still super high.
Right. So, so stress is the major killer, and so what we have is, two very unique protocols that we do in our office, things to help people to reverse the effects of stress in their lives, on their bodies and in their lives. And then we have also all natural holistic nutrition and weight loss that also reverses the weight problem. So, basically what happened is stress comes in three flavors, I say, right? It comes in, there's physical stresses on the body, which are falls, jolts, lifting, sitting all day, right? Car accidents, physical stresses. Mm-hmm. There are chemical stresses. Chemical stresses are drugs, pollution, bad food, medications many times, anything that's toxic to the body. And, of course, there are emotional stresses, which we're all familiar with. And all three accumulate over time in the body, all right, particularly in the spine and nervous system, right? So we have a way to clear all that out, right? And also stress and toxins will also lodge in other parts of the body and start to ruin particularly our digestive system and other organs, and we have a way to get that all clean and pristine and get the body back, totally, body, mind, back to as clear as possible. And going back to what we started out as, in my perspective, right, nature needs no help, it just needs no interference. And we're born healthy. We're born a miracle, right? When a baby's born, we go, oh, it's a miracle. Well, we'll still that miracle. And so what happens is these stresses interfere with our expression of life, with our expression and experience of life. So essentially what we do with these two extraordinary processes is we clear away, remove all that's interfering with our natural expression of health and life, and the body miraculously comes back big time.
I think that so many people hear the word stress and your statistics you mentioned, and they agree with that. They nod their head and they say, well, I went to the doctor and they told me to reduce the stress in my life because that's, the source of all kinds of things. But I think a lot of people, from their external life that they live, they put themselves in situations where maybe the stress cannot be reduced as much. Maybe their work is just a stressful job, or maybe they've got kids and sports and things, and they look at their life and they say, well, if I remove this, that would not work because this is a big part of my life. So how do you advise your patients with your techniques and your holistic approach to balance their day-to-day life if things really, maybe there's a little bit of tweaking and polishing that they could do, but how do you help them to balance that from your support and your system?
Well, that's a great question, Mike. The truth is that stress is really not the problem. Okay? It's not stress that causes our body and minds to break down. It's our inability to handle stress properly, that causes the body and mind to break down. So it's how we adapt to it physically and or emotionally, because, there's lots of examples. I mean, if the two of us were in a board meeting and the boss comes in and starts yelling at us because deadlines weren't met or whatever it is, right? And I get all upset. I'm like, that's so-and-so. He shouldn't have talked to us like that. That's not okay. And you know what? He has to apologize, and I'm not going to, be okay with it until he apologizes, right? I'm creating stress for myself.
Yeah.
Whereas you're sitting next to me and you're thinking to yourself, you say, man, I hope he's okay. I wonder if he's all right. I'm going to go ask him and see if everything's okay with him, what I could do to help. Right? Same situation,
Yep.
Two different ways to respond.
Now, here's a question, though, that person that had that response, because one of my questions I always love asking people in the chiropractic profession is, what are some red flags that someone can notice in their own life that would make them think, I wonder if Dr. Berlin could help with, this. So be thinking about that. But your example there is perfect. The one that did not handle the boss coming in and ranting and raving, that obviously is an outward manifestation of stress. But the other person could be suppressing it and might have the same level, but maybe it's just not outwardly known. Maybe there's the third person sitting there that didn't say a word and they kind of had a blank stare, and you think, well, they're not affected, but they could be affected as well. So with that thought in mind, how about the people that handle stress differently? Potentially even the person that explodes and they get all upset, that could be a good thing because they could be releasing some of that. But what are some ways that people can notice in their own life that they could say, you know what, maybe a Network Wellness Center in my area could be a good help to me?
Well, here's the thing, that was a mouthful, Mike. A lot of information that I could talk about there. So to answer your question specifically, so what happens is, let me just finish with that example. Okay, the stress, right, is how it affects our nervous system. All right, when emotional stress, it's how we process it, how we perceive, right, interpret, and respond in our nervous system. So, and the key is to do that authentically. Mm-hmm. Because the more authentic we can be in any moment, the more truthful, the more real, authentic we can be in any moment, okay, and then we can flow with life. Otherwise, something inside of us goes, no, this isn't right for me, I don't know what to do, and it creates stress. So what we do is we help people's nervous systems, physically and emotionally, get very flexible and adaptable, so that they adapt to stress authentically in every moment. And how you know you're not is what your question was, right?
Yes.
What are some signs? So I know for me, right, if I'm not getting my nervous system cleared, on a regular basis and stress is accumulating, for me the subtle things are that I don't find solutions to problems as quickly. I tend to get irritated a little faster. I can't express myself as much, right? But for others, I mean, it could be you're more irritated. May not be so subtle, right? It could be you start getting sick. You have digestive issues, inflammatory bowel disease, spinal problems. Back and neck issues. You can have all kinds of stress conditions that you may not even know it's stress, right? Essentially, you feel sick and tired, and you're tired of being sick and tired. Mm-hmm. That would be the epitome of it. And anywhere along the spectrum, so you're not just functioning at your best. You're not free. You're not happy. You're not, powerful. You're not authentic in your life.
You brought up a really interesting point about noticing what stress or your body is doing, when you said trouble making decisions or things like that. And it made me think of something that we all deal with every day, which is our computer. And I know years ago, you'd hear about defragging your computer, but now, there's products like C Cleaner or, anti-spyware, and if you don't run those things, your computer starts building up this, like these little issues, and it might not be a complete shutdown, but it might run a lot slower and take a long time to open this or that program. Whereas if you keep all that cleaned and like you said, clean and pristine, now your computer is going to react the way it needs to, and I would suspect that that's a very good correlation to what you just mentioned about the body and keeping your nervous system and your spine as top-notch as possible.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, Mike. I like that. And it's very true. And here's the sad thing, right? Because you're right, keeping it clean and pristine. But here's the sad thing. Stress accumulates over our lifetime from when we were young. Could start from the birthing process, right? Most people don't know what clear feels like.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know when they're not because we're so much stress and everybody around us is stressful. We think that's normal. But what happens is when people come in and they start to, really clear the interference from their natural expression of life, okay, and health, and they go to a whole new level, they go, oh my God, I never knew I could be so calm. I never knew I could be so healthy. I didn't know that I could be so expressive. And, now they have a new level of clear. And so when that happens, then when you're once you know what's right, then when you're going off.
That's a really great point.
People never, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because you might think, wow, I had a great day today. Well, compared to what? Well, other days that were bad. Well, to your point, if stress and these, kind of cloudy, cluttered feelings have been building up our entire life, how do we even know what it should feel like? Because it's been so long and it's been so gradual. And that, to me, that would be the scary thing for someone is you don't know what you don't know. And once you do kind of have that reset, now becomes this baseline, and it gives you that whole new norm. That's a really, really great point. So what would you say your practice does that is, we've talked about a few things that makes you different, focusing on stress and holistic and nutrition and weight loss. I think a lot of times people think of chiropractic as their cliche chiropractic. What sets your practice apart from others?
Well, what makes us unique is that we truly find and heal the causes of people's weight or health problems and reverse them for life. Okay, like I said, we have two very powerful processes that heals people, cleans out the physical, chemical, and emotional stresses that have accumulated over the years. I'm also, one of my gifts is diagnosis. I just happen to, see systems really well. It's just something that I do. And so I say to people all the time, I coined the phrase, stop treating symptoms and start treating systems. Because we are, we are a bunch of systems all within a system that works systematically.
Sure.
And if you only try to treat a part, well, you've heard the song, the knee bone's connected to the, right?
Yep.
Everything's connected. in our body and in our life, and our body to our life. And so what makes us unique is that we truly find and heal the causes that allow the systems to not function like they're supposed to. And then what we do physically, chemically, emotionally is help the systems, reverse all the damage, all the stress and toxicity, all right, clear the interference, and then the body will naturally heal itself, according to research, about 200% better. Okay, and the body will naturally start healing itself, the body and mind, and become more whole. So, and again, more specifically, how we do that is with two processes. One's called Network Spinal Analysis. What that is we're trained as chiropractors, but we went back to school, a lot of postgraduate work, to learn a very unique form of healing that blends highly advanced neurological and energy work. Okay, it's light pressure points. We don't do the traditional bone cracking like most chiropractors. It's light pressure points that literally clears out the stress patterns from the spine and nervous system. Then the other system we use is all natural weight loss, and nutrition and weight loss that actually reverses the weight problem because there's 10 things that need to heal in order to permanently, to heal the weight problem, not just to lose weight, but to permanently heal the weight problem so you go back to your natural healthy weight and stay there. And some of those 10 things are hormonal, food combining, stress, right? Emotional eating, things like that. So we have nutrition with supplements and foods. We teach people how to shop, cook, and eat, and life coaching and webinars, that teach people how to shop, cook, and eat for life. So we use those two processes to really help people live, like we say, live the miracle that they are.
I love that explanation right there, and that's where we need to wrap up, because you just said it all. It's not just I am a chiropractor. And even the difference there is you're not a traditional chiropractor that people think, with the network approach, it's not that invasive feel that people might be a little scared about. So I think that light touch is a really unique point. But, one interesting thing you made about, weight loss or lifestyle, I never heard the word really that you mentioned diet. And I think the humorous thing is, the first three letters of the word diet are DIE, because you just feel like you're going to die on a diet. Well, it's a lifestyle. It's a holistic approach, and if you do it the right way, and all the things, and I'm sure we could probably speak for about 2.5 more hours on the rest of those 10 things. The stress that affects and the hormones and all of those things. Well, once those get in line, you don't feel like I'm doing this one thing. I'm checking off this diet for my New Year's resolution. You don't need to do that. It just becomes a lifestyle.
You got it. Absolutely.
Super. Hey, anyone interested in learning more about you, give us some contact information there for your practice, where you're located, what's the best website to visit, and then how can people learn more to connect with the way that you conduct your practice?
Yeah, that's great. So if you want to learn more, you can go. I'm in Plainview, Long Island, by the way, in New York, and you can go to networkwellnesscenter.com. That's networkwellnesscenter.com. I also have another website that's drberlin.clubreduce.com, and that goes more deeply into the nutrition and weight loss. So either website would be great. Phone number would be 1-844-LOSE-123.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
I love it. Hey, thank you so much for really bringing some of these thoughts and processes to light. I love the system analogy that you mentioned, because if it's like the weakest link. If there's one link that's weak in that chain, the whole chain is compromised, and that's how it is with our body as a system. So thank you for some of those word pictures you brought in. It was wonderful getting to know you. So Dr. Michael Berlin, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. Have a great day. Thank you.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.